Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of a Melanated Hypothesis podcast with your girl, Tori V, aka Victoria Littlejohn. And it's Friday. So, you know what that means? We have another dope guest with a dope perspective. Oh my goodness, Aaliyah, I'm so glad we're finally here.
I know.
Okay, introduce yourself to the collective.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. So, my name is Aileah Nichelle, and I am a full-time employee, but I'm definitely team FTJ, and you can figure out what that means. I'm also a business owner. I own a career and financial consulting company where I help college dropouts and college graduates shift their mindset to figure out why they are having the troubles that they are having financially, historically, where those troubles came from, and then devising plans on how they can level up in their careers and finances. So I'm happy to be here.
We are happy to have you. Okay, so we got to dive right in. Trying to make sure I'm in the picture here. Okay, I I really want to go back because this is where you are today. But where did you start? What got you on this path?
Yeah, so a lot of different things. So first I come from a single parent home. So I was raised by my mother. She is in her mid 60s and she's from New Jersey. I'm from New Jersey originally, but I grew up in North Carolina, Durham, North Carolina to be specific. And it was only myself, my mother, and my brother. My mom was a nurse by trade. She's now medically retired. But what really brought me to where I am now is I think I've always had some type of drive to be kind of self-sufficient and entrepreneurial just because I seen how hard my mom worked. Like we're in the middle of the pandemic now, and I know I speak I speak directly to a lot of my black and brown people primarily, but a lot of us have know someone that works in the medical field, whether they be a CNA, a med tech, a nurse, like your auntie, your uncle, somebody is a nurse in your family, more than likely. And my mom was that nurse, and she just worked so hard, and I thought that was amazing. But at the same time, I'm like, this is ridiculous because my brother is almost 8 years older than me, and he's a great older brother. But I realized that a lot of my greatest childhood memories came from me being with my brother. Like I spent so much time with him, and he did a great job. But being that much older than me, he kind of took me under his wing and helped raise me. And there's no shade to my mom; she did what she could. But I realized that when I get older, I don't think I want that. I don't think I want to be to the point where I'm not able to be there all the time. You know, I think she worked third shift, so she was able to still be present physically, but you can just tell she was exhausted. And I realized that she worked so much because she probably didn't have a partner. Like a lot of my peers, they came from two parent homes. I had cousins that had mothers and fathers, and it didn't seem like the what one person was as stressed financially. So I tested her working so much with the fact that we needed money, and the fact that we needed so much money is because she didn't have a partner. So I was like, nah, I'm not trying to do any of that. Needless to say, like I respect nurses, but I never wanted to be a nurse because I associated nursing with like labor, stress, struggle. And to be quite honest, when I was graduating from elementary school, we went on a field trip. I think it was the end of the year trip, or graduation trip, and we went to King's Dominion. And that was like super fun because I was like one of the first trips that my mom was able to take with me, and I'm like, my brother not going on the trip with me, and it was so surreal. But I remember us just being so tired, and I think I had a dog at the time, and then my brother was away on like a wrestling match or something. So um, we had left my dog with my aunt. My aunt came to our house and she was just watching the dog. But me and my mom were so tired from that trip that day, and we ended up falling asleep on the couch. And I just remember it was pitch black outside, but I just remember feeling like somebody kept tugging on my leg, and I'm like, "What is this? Like, get off me! I'm trying to sleep." And I kept doing that, but eventually, I just something sprung in me, and I just jumped up, and I realized that it was my mom. She was tugging at my leg because she was having pain, and the pain that she was having, she was experiencing. She was complaining about her head, And I realized that, something was wrong at that time. So I ended up calling my aunt. I woke her up. It was basically like 5 o'clock or something in the morning. And long story short, we called the EMS. They checked all her vitals, and it was like, she's fine, nothing's wrong with her. But my aunt was like, no, something's definitely wrong with her. So we took her to the hospital, and when we took her to the hospital, they immediately put her into surgery and put her under into a medically induced coma because they found out that she had a brain aneurysm. She had three broken blood vessels in her brain, and she ended up staying in the hospital for probably about a month. So this was right after, I was graduating from elementary school. She didn't get to see me graduate at that time because it was just a trip. But my brother graduated from high school like a week before, so she was able to see him. But the challenge at that time was just our whole financial lifestyle, like, immediately changed. Like, my mom was a pretty well paid nurse. Let me know if you can still hear me because I just hit my mic. She was a pretty well paid nurse, and like my childhood was pretty lit. Like, I had all the toys and everything. I lived in a diverse neighborhood, but just going from that to like not having, and then also not having a father figure in the household or anybody, so to speak, to kind of like take on that financial burden. My brother started having to work at a young age. Like, he went to college. He was just a great athlete. Probably would be in the NFL, the Major League Baseball, whatever. He could do anything. But to kind of be challenged with, do I let my mother and my little sister like basically be homeless, or do I continue my career as an athlete and this all American athlete? He had to make that choice as a 19-year-old to kind of drop out, and he started working. And I just knew, like, from there I was like, I don't want that from my life. So when I was very young, I just started experimenting with different things and trying to find my way through entrepreneurship because I realized that I didn't want to have to depend on a job so much that I could not be there for my kids when they have any type of life events. I didn't want to have to be so stressed financially that I have to work so much or potentially die from overworking. So entrepreneurship, I was kind of like scared into that, but when I was younger, I would roll our little kitchen table out and set up a lemonade stand, sell pickles, chips, whatever you could sell, and people would buy it. I could draw very well, so I was able to like draw fake tattoos for little kids and do face paintings when I was young. I used to write people's papers in high school and college. I had God knows how many businesses, and I used to sell the little B2K and Bow Wow posters to the girls at school for like 50 cents or $1. And then I got a little bit older and I started learning a little bit more about, you know, different franchises and businesses. So I started investing in those. Not everything was successful, but I've owned a commercial cleaning company. I've owned a credit card processing company. I've owned like a legal aid franchise and so many different things. But ultimately, I've never gotten to the point where I was completely out of the working world. Um, but I realized that ultimately I don't desire to be anyone's employee. I don't have any children now, but when I do have children, I don't want to be like, "Hey boss, my kid is sick. Can I take off and take them to the doctor?" I don't want to ask like that. Don't It just doesn't sit well in my spirit. Like, I don't like that at all. So um though I am still fully employed right now, I work in the field of healthcare, go figure. And I create paid training programs for the company. And one of the programs that I've been able to introduce is a paid training program for at-risk high school students so that they can get exposed to so many different career opportunities out there, get scholarships to go to school and do whatever, and basically not be on a struggle bus like I was on. So I'm thankful for that opportunity, and that's why I'm still working right now. But in layman terms, that's my story, girl.
Oh my goodness. All right, so we gotta unpack it. First, um, explain what you mean by paid training.
Yeah, so um paid training, let's see. There's so many different so many different ways to say that. So I A paid training opportunity is just like a regular internship. So an internship is just you learning a skill in exchange for, your time, but it's more so observation. So you may not have a lot of hands-on experience depending on your age group and the labor laws in your city, state, or whatever. Um, And from when I was growing up, in high school and college, I had to find a lot of my own internships, and it was almost impossible to find anything that was going to pay you. And if they were paying you, it was minimum wage. So I had to work. Like my first job was as a lifeguard. So I was always lifeguarding, and then I would have like an unpaid internship in the field that I was interested in. And it was just really difficult to do that, go to school and be an athlete and all those other things. Um, so what I mean by a paid training opportunity is literally an internship that's going to say, hey Victoria, you want to be a obstetrician, or you want to be a nurse. Let's come in, and I'm gonna allow you to shadow these nurses, learn about the career path, but I'm gonna pay you for your time. Like you're our employee now. You might be a temporary employee, but you're our employee, and your job is literally to come here, learn, educate yourself. You might have to do like a research paper or what have you, but instead of you going around the corner and working at Chipotle, you can work for the company as an intern, so you don't have to trade, you don't have to choose between, having that income for your household because you come from a single parent home, versus actually being able to fully immerse yourself in your studies. So that's essentially what the paid training is.
Hmm. I really like that. And so you created this program. I mean, you created this position.
Yeah, so I can't take full credit from everything. I got a lot of inspiration from a lot of other companies, but I did lead that work.
I think that's so dope. So what got you on the path of even saying, yeah, I'm going to attempt to create this thing, or having the confidence to say, yeah, I want to go lead this project.
Um, Honestly, I was hired to do that with the company because I did it before with another company, and it wasn't my job. It's my job now. Like I've actually been hired to do this work, and I will continue to create other programs or lead projects and all that good stuff. But it wasn't my job before. So I come from a background of human resources. And before I was working for the local government, and I was in like a recruitment role. But what I noticed is it was so many jobs that I kept posting every three weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. And I'm like, why can't they keep anybody in this job? Like, is it the employer or is it a company? And a lot of times people want to look at jobs, and turnover as it's the employee's fault, but it most of the time it's actually the company's fault, but the company never wants to say, oh, it's our fault. But at the same time, they're going to lose so much money because, when you get a job, especially a full-time job, you're going to get a benefits package, and some benefits packages don't kick in until 30 or 90 days after you already started with the job, but it costs the company so much money to be able to put that in place, even give you those benefits, and it costs them money to even put you on payroll to pay you in general. So they're going to lose so much money every time they lose an employee every 3 to 4 weeks. And I don't necessarily like repeating anything that can, repeating uh, anything that could be avoided in the future. Like that's just my personality. I'm very much that friend. If my homegirls come to me and they complaining, I'm gonna listen to them, but I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm glad you got that out. I'm glad you got that out. Now what can we do moving forward so that way you don't go through this again? And then
Right.
that's my personality, my personal personality, and then it goes over into my work life. So the way I got to that point is just being in a recruitment role, and I'm like, there's something wrong here. So I just got on the ground and actually went to these departments, and I was like, hey, can I see what this person who you hire for this position, can I see what they be doing for day to day? Can I see where they would be working? So that way, whenever the employee comes to me and they're like, hey, Lee, I want this job working in this factory or whatever, I can be like, you sure you want that job? Like, this is the environment that you're going to be working in. Some people be like, yeah, I want that job. Some people will get that job and be like, nah, this isn't for me. I'm out in like 3 days. And it's because people are not being transparent. So I operate off of transparency, but I also realize that a lot of times the jobs that we were having trouble filling or keeping people in, they were hiring grown folk that have real grown bills and real grown responsibilities, rather than bringing in somebody who's just graduated from high school, has never had any type of experience, that would be more than willing to learn. They're already in that mindset of learning because they're in high school or coming out of high school. Um, so it'll be an easier transition for them. They'll probably be the most money that they've ever made. But a grown person or a person that like my age or your age is probably not going to bat an eye at that job. They're just going to look at it just to get into the company, but they're going to look at another job in another department that pays a little bit more. But this high school student is going to look at this opportunity like, this is great. They're training me. I'm learning this. I'm learning a new skill, and I can get in. I might be able to make a career, and then about 3 years, I might be a manager, and I'm making way more. And I don't have any college debt as opposed to other people my age. So that's the mind space that I was in, and I basically presented it to my management team, my leadership team, the same way. And then I just created a program there too, and I partnered with like the state, and they have like apprenticeship programs and all that good stuff. So I was able to find funding for the state to be able to train these high school students that are recently graduating. They're able to get a scholarship to community college in a specific career path, the one that we designated, and they're able to get on the job training. And most of them, I think the two boys that we hired, they probably graduated from high school now. I think one was a junior, the other one was a senior. Um, I'm sure they're probably like a year or two into they're still working at the company because I don't work there anymore. But um, I know that they're making no less than $40,000 a year, and as 19 and 20-year olds with no college debt. So that's the goal, because, like I said, I wish I had those opportunities when I was younger, and that's really the thing. Like, there's opportunities out here, but a lot of people from our community don't know about it. And then we also run into people who are just information hoarders. They feel like once they learn something, they be like, well, he got to get it out the mud just like I got to get it out the mud. Like, that attitude, it don't sit well in my spirit, and I'm not like that at all, because I'm like, I'm going to help you get to that place, so that way you don't have to struggle in the same way that I did. But I'm still going to keep moving because my life isn't over. And I think a lot of us, we live and we think that if you're in your late 20s, early 30s, 40s, or 50s, that your life is just over and you can't make a shift or a transition. But I'm just kind of here to kind of change that mindset.
I love it. It's crazy that you say that because I feel the same way. I'm in a place of like I am a recovering information junkie in the sense of I just get information and then don't execute. But I feel like the human iPod of information, because I I can always help somebody else. So it's not that want you to get it out the mud. It's like, now, if you say something, now I can give you these resources. And I like that, being a catalyst of change, if you will. But I realized that I was helping everybody or giving everybody else tips, but wasn't doing it for myself, wasn't taking any of the things
Come on now.
and going after it. Right. So it's like, and then I would get upset when somebody didn't take this information that I knew was going to work if they just executed.
Girl, we live in the same life, or what? Are we the same person? Because I mean,
Yes. And so now it was just like, it's to the point where everything that I'm telling, everything that I say, it's like, are you doing it? I have to ask myself, and I'm very transparent, like you said, with myself though. Are you doing it? Like, you need to execute on it. Yeah, definitely bring information to other people and help them. But also, we live in a world where um, people want to see it. So I can tell you all day that I read this book and I know this thing, but it's much better if you see me execute on that thing, and then you can say, hey, this is how I made this thing. So I really,
facts.
yeah, I admire that. And you going after that, getting government funding, um, what kind of process is that like? I feel like I hear people say government contractors and contracting is the way to go for things. But how easy is that process?
Um, well, I'm not an expert, I will say that, but Ateswi, there's a lot of opportunities out there. So, the best resource I know of when you're looking for an apprenticeship, because that's really what I'm talking about. I talk about paid training opportunities and scholarships and all inclusive. That's called an apprenticeship. So you can literally go to apprenticeship.com. I know in North Carolina it's apprenticeshipnc.gov, and I'm sure it's about the same in almost every state, but I'll just say generally apprenticeship.com, and you can learn that there's so many different opportunities out there, that and there's so many companies that want to pay you to learn their skill, because not only are we are in what we call the great resignation, meaning everybody is seeing what opportunities are out there, because we live in a world of technology. We're in a digital age, and people can hop on IG, TikTok, whatever, and see so much information. So people are like, I don't have to stay on this job. Like, I can go down the street to, blah blah blah, and I can make $15 an hour. I can make 17. I can make 20 doing the same thing if I go to this other city right next door, and it's only going to be like a 20-minute drive. So that's why we're in a great resignation right now, because so many people are realizing like they don't have to deal with this. And ultimately, I've always thought from that lens. That's why I'm like team F this job in so many so many words. And I don't mean to just say like I'm against employment, because I'm not against employment. There's so many opportunities there. You can meet great people. I've met some of my best friends today that I know I wouldn't have met if I was just this, bubble of an entrepreneur. And there's so many different resources and connections when you work for a company. But what I mean by team F this job is, so to speak, like, you should never allow a company or a job to take so much from you emotionally or mentally. Once it gets to the point where your skin is changing, your hair falling out, you coming home and arguing with your cat and your dog just because, they made a noise, or your man is, you yelling for no reason, like you're just irritable, then that's when you really need to go, and you realizing that you would have a better quality of life not working at all for a short amount of time, of course, or going to another company. I'm very much for your overall mental and emotional health and peace. That's really where that team at this job thing comes from. And honestly, you can always find better. Like, it's always better out there. You just have to position yourself. But as far as like the government contracting, like I said, I'm not a expert in that regard, but I can talk about grants for job funding. And specifically in the state that I live in North Carolina. But the best resource to start with is always going to be your local government, your local business center. If you go to theapprenticeship.com, you can choose whatever industry, whether that be IT, healthcare, any type of manufacturing, and they will show you a long list of apprenticeable occupations where you can go in as a high school graduate, a high school student, a young adult. You can be 40, 50, don't matter. Especially if you live in up north, like above the Mason-Dixon line, they have plenty of opportunities. Like, one of my favorite um, apprenticeships to talk about is like electrical apprenticeships. There's this company called the IBEW, so organization, it's a union. That's the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. And you can be a sister as well, even though they say IBEW, but ultimately they train you on how to be an electrician, and you can specialize in so many other so many other industries and areas. But a lot of people have been able to take that training and change their entire lives. And they're also in a position where now, if they're being threatened on the job, like you have this nasty boss, they have a union behind them backing them up, so they will be able to support them. But you get benefits, you have a full scholarship, you have like an associate's degree, you got a journeyman certification, which is the highest level of certification you can get. And that's just one type of apprenticeship. That's like the dirty type, if you will, the blue collar. But then you can do an IT apprenticeship, you can do a nursing apprenticeship, you can do an apprenticeship for working for the Department of State. It's so many different things that you can do. You can be an apprentice at a weed dispensary. It really doesn't make a difference. Like, you could, but the whole thing is that people are paying you to learn a skill that's ultimately going to benefit their company, and it's also going to benefit the economy at the end of the day, because we are dealing with, people not making the type of money that they need to make. That's why we had all of these protests about people trying to get the minimum wage to be raised to $15 an hour. And in most states, that's still not enough, especially like in our northern states, that's still not enough. So it's just taking what resources are already out there and then kind of trying to navigate around that and being able to take that information and share it with the community, but also bringing that to the companies that, I already work with, because I know that's going to benefit you all. It's going to benefit me because as a recruiter, which I was before, I didn't have to worry about posting for the same job in 3 more months, because we now have somebody in there who actually enjoys being in there. We're transparent. They're getting a skill. It's saving the company money. And then ultimately it's getting me in a position of just ultimate fulfillment. And then I can take that and I can continue to move forward. And I was able to take those projects that I did with that and then position myself to be where I am now, in the company I am now, where I was able to increase my salary significantly, and just primarily focus on that one aspect of my job that I really like.
Mm. Okay. So you said you were talking about um okay, actually I want to go back to your childhood. So you just gave us a good synopsis of where you are kind of today and how your journey has gone and just how you see the world. But going back to your childhood, um, as a little sister who is you have your mother but um, physically there but mentally exhausted, and then you're starting to be um, raised and taken under your brother's wing. Do you understand that in that moment? How do you feel?
When I was a little kid, I don't know, like I was funny. Like I say I was funny, but I was not trusting at all. Like, and it kind of transitioned into my adulthood, but I was not trusting. Like, if you, I don't know, have you ever seen like Popeye the Sailor Man when you were little? Have you ever seen that? Do
Mm-hmm.
you ever remember when like Popeye was walking around like this and just angry all the time? I would do that sometimes because when people would just try to come up to me and just as a little kid, like adults, well, oh, she's so cute and everything. I just did not trust anybody because I used to see, especially adults, like I was not feeling them. And the reason being is just because I I just seen I seen like a lot of what my mom went through with like friends taking advantage of her and relatives and then people at her jobs and stuff. And I'm like, adults is shady. Like I'm not trying to grow up and be no adult. So I think at the time growing up, I didn't understand it, no. But I knew something was wrong, and that's what motivated me. And I knew it had a lot to do with money. I knew it had something to do with money because my mother wasn't one of those people that lied. Like I did believe in Santa Claus to an extent. I never believed in the tooth fairy and in any of that. But I also realized that just as much as she would tell me about Santa Claus, she would also tell me like, oh, mommy got you this gift, and that's one of her love languages anyway. So she's always giving gifts and everything. But I know to some years, my gifts was like over the moon, like they were awesome, and then years after her accident, they were not as great. So I was like, Santa, I've been good. So I know Santa's like he's not forgetting about your girl like that. Like it has something to do with mommy's money. So I think in that sense, I was very aware, and that's why also now, like I have kind of like a passion for young adults and youth in general, because you'd be surprised what kids can actually pick up on when they're younger. Like for me to be so aware to the point that now that I just really want to educate so many other people about these opportunities and different career paths. My mom even told me that if she knew then what she knows now, she would have went into technology because when computers came out, she was actually really good at that. She just thought that nursing was the way because everybody else did that. But I almost guarantee you that if she would have went into technology, she probably would be in a different space. She probably wouldn't even have almost passed away just from the stress and the anxiety of overworking and having that brain aneurysm. So yeah, at the time I was like happy go lucky as just a very green child, but I definitely knew something was not right when it came to like my mother's finances at some point, and then I also realized that maybe some adults in her life have something to do with that, because she was that person that will always be willing to let somebody stay with her and do this, that, and the third. But when she needed it, like, it was crickets. So I was not feeling adults at that time.
Do you think you were confident as a child to just go out and do those things? Was there a certain confidence instilled in you?
What do you mean? Do what exactly?
So to go out and start just selling posters and your entrepreneurial journey, or to have that self awareness and to say, this is something that I'm not going to do, or this is something that I'm going to watch out for, as far as going coming from finances. Do you think that you have to have a certain confidence to do that, to stand that, make a stand for those type of decisions?
Absolutely. You definitely have to have a certain level of awareness and confidence. I don't know if I knew that that's what it was called at that time, but it was just like a level of stubbornness. Like, I'm not doing that. You know, I have always been stubborn to some extent, but it was more so because I questioned a lot of things. I was always very inquisitive, and I'll be like, well, well, why is this or why is that? Like, I'll be that kid that adults did not like, because I'm asking like why all the time. And their famous saying is, because I said so. And I'm like, why did you say so? That's because my mom, she raised me to be that way, just to be like, ask questions if you don't understand. And then whatever you can't understand, she like, go look in the dictionary. That was my mom's favorite thing. Like, go look it up. Go look in the dictionary. And I'm like, well, it's not in the dictionary. So what do you mean? So I will always ask those questions. And she definitely instilled in me to kind of be to stand up for myself, and then also held me to a level of excellence. She definitely held me to a level of excellence, because unfortunately in my childhood a lot of people spoke death into me. And I'm not saying like, oh, this little girl's going to die, but the difference between speaking life and just being positive and speaking greatness into someone's life, I didn't really have those same things, because again, I was always one of the few households, like either my group of friends or my family, that just did not have like my parent didn't have a partner. So it was like, oh, you're not going to be anything when you grow up and all that stuff. And you'd be surprised what people tell kids. But my mom always spoke the very opposite into my brother and myself. And I feel like for that reason, we're very confident. We're very like overall positive people and just change makers. I would say like I'm more of a realist, potentially. My brother's a lot better now that he's older, married, and has kids, but he was very green when he was younger, and I had my moments, but I do think that a lot of that confidence just came from how my mother spoke to us.
Mm. So how do you speak to yourself? Self talk.
Yeah, I be basically, well, one, I always have to take a pause, because just like yourself, I always have so much information. I'll be ready to help everybody else. And then when it comes to myself, it's like crickets. And I really had to stop and take a break, and just pause and reflect. I had to go to therapy. I'm very much an advocate for therapy. My therapist looks exactly like me, not exactly, but she's a black woman with locks, and I love it. She speaks to different areas in my life, and just speaks positivity into me as well, and just helps me reflect on taking care of Aileah. So, um, the way that I do that is literally I journal. Whenever I have a thought, I have a frustration, I go ahead and journal that down, and I come back and say, okay, well, is this actually going to benefit me if I react in this way? Or what could I do different? Or what would I rather be doing right now? And after a while, I'll go back and look at that to see like what is the common factor. Like, is the common factor me just reacting out of frustration or fear, being impulsive, or am I just in an environment that's not really benefiting me? So I've done that with relationships, I've done that with jobs, and I think that's helped me out a lot more. But I'm very much just that type of person that has to just really sit in their thoughts, because I'm always busy. I'm always trying to find ways to do something. And I think I do that a lot just to kind of distract myself from a lot of the stress and anxiety that I ultimately put on myself a lot of the times. And it's like, I just take a step back and be like, well, you don't owe anybody your time. You don't owe anybody anything. And in order to be of any benefit to anyone that you truly want to help, you have to take a step back and actually help yourself. Like, you cannot pour from an empty vessel at all. Like, your well is ultimately going to run dry if you continue to just give and give and give and give and give, and you don't have anything left for yourself. And the people that you're surrounding around you that are used to you giving, once you don't have anything to give them anymore, they're gonna be gone. And that speaks true to my past. Like, people I've given so much to, and I'm like, well, how could they ever do me like this? Like, I gave them so much, and da da da. And they be like, thanks, sis. And they go to the next person that's gonna continue to give. Like, it's just people in the world that's like that. But I had to really have a deep talk with myself and be like, Lee, you need to get it together. Like, you can't be giving everybody else this advice and not taking it yourself. You really got to get yourself together, because I think we live in a world sometimes with, what we call like imposter syndrome. And you feel like you want to live up to this level of expectation that you have for yourself, but it's unrealistic, because you're not really taking any time to understand who you are. Like, who am I? Who is Aileah? Like, what do you like to do? When people ask you that, especially in the friendship world or the dating world, what's some things you like to do? And you really just can't come up with nothing, because you don't understand who you are. You don't know yourself enough, but you know what your homegirl likes to do. You know what your homeboy likes to do. You know what your mom enjoys doing. So it's just like really taking a step back and being selfish, and just that is so selfless all the time.
Woo, okay, that was a bar right there because yes, yes, yeah. Look, yes, okay, because how many times like my sister, I know what scared her, just whatever. I know everything about her. But then I had to go on a journey to learn myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had to really sorry. Okay, so look,
No, you're fine. I
I like
just
the sound of water. So I'm always running water, this faucet or something. But I live in this little room, so it get moist in here, and my nose be running, and it seemed like every time I'm recording, I'm like coughing, and I don't want nobody to
no, you
think that I
fine.
have COVID. So
Girl, we on camera, so you can have COVID. Just it's all right. We are on camera, but I hope you
I
don't have
just
COVID.
yeah, I just feel like I'm conditioned to say it at this point. Like, hey y'all, just put that
It's
out there.
springtime, so the allergies be tearing me up too. It's all right. I got
Yeah,
the Benadryl
exactly.
over
It's
here.
just something going on. Okay. But what was I saying? Okay, so I learned people very well. I'm very in the moment type of person. So I listen very well, and I'm an observer. I like to lay back. I'm low key. I'm in the cut. You don't see me. So
Mm-hmm.
I peep stuff. But do I peep myself? So
Okay.
how many people we just autopilot, we don't really have a routine, we kind of just go with the flow. We like certain things, or we've been exposed to certain things through seeds from media, and we don't even know if we really like this. It's just popular
Exactly,
right
girl.
now. Yes, yes. Okay, so how did you get on the path of like learning self? People say know yourself, but how you know yourself? Like what that
That's crazy. Like, I don't want to sound so traumatic, but my life has been like really, it's been different. A lot of stuff that I went through, I don't know like how I was able to get through so many different things. Um, but I would say very, very transparently, I was in a relationship for 5 years recently. I was engaged. We broke up last year, and it was pretty traumatic for me. It wasn't no standard like, oh, he cheated on me and all this other stuff. We didn't have that type of relationship, but we were just polar opposites. We were polar opposites, and it was getting to the point where I literally felt like I was choking myself whenever I would just be like, oh, doing things that he want to do because I loved him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would be doing things that he wants to do. He would never really want to do things I want to do. We would have a full blown argument before he even want to come to like a birthday party. I'm like, why you don't want to come to this birthday party? Like, why you don't want to go to the mountains with me? Like, it's the mountains. Like, why you don't want to go to the beach? Little stuff. And I'd be like, this dude, I just can't. Like, and I had to get to myself. I had to get to the point where I'm like, I have exhausted myself over so many years trying to fit into this bubble of what I think that he wants and what he likes. I know everything about this man. I ain't seen this man in over a year. I know everything about this guy. Like I know his social security number. I can tell you exactly everything about him. You know, does he know that about me? Probably not. Probably not. You know, and I was like, it was just embarrassing for me to sit back and think about that. Like I was like, we're not even married yet, but I've always been that way, you know. And I was like, this is embarrassing. Like how much about him that I know, and I know that I used to like all of these things before him, but do I really like them now? Like what really excites me? What really makes me happy? And I really just went into like a hermit crab shell for a couple of months before I was like, nah, I can't continue to live like this. This is what I'm going to try to do. And like yourself, very similarly, which is interesting. I love the water. I love the nature. Like when I'm around water and stuff, it brings me a level of clarity and peace that is just unexplainable. Like, and I love animals. And I like being around innocence. So when I say I like being around innocence, it's just like
Mm.
children. I love kids. I don't have any kids, but I have nephews, and I'll if you got kids, I'll be their auntie as well. But I like being around innocence and just people just that don't really understand how wicked the world is yet, and then they still have a air of like, oh, there's this possibility, like the imagination of how great the world can be, how great people can be. And I like to be one of the first people that they meet and be like, hey, like, yeah, the world isn't that bad if you go in this direction, and don't ever let anybody, like any experience that you go through, anybody like taint who you are or dim your light. So I just had to have that conversation with myself, because I was embarrassed. Like I had gained, girl, I've for real gained like 50 pounds in that relationship. um I was just unhappy, and I was always very athletic when I was younger. I came from a family that was, kind of thick. We got curves and stuff. I didn't get everything like my brother got everything my mama got, but I'm like, she skipped your girl, but we got some curves there still. but I, but I was always one of the smaller ones in my family because I was so athletic. But then I went through this whole thing where I gained so much weight, my skin was changing, and I was just so unhappy. And even though it felt like I was happy, and I could always say, well, like at least I'm in a relationship, like my man not cheating on me, la 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 la. I was not happy with him. Like we just were not happy together. And it was just, I had to come to that realization, like there's nothing wrong with just saying, like, let's go our separate ways. Like it's nothing wrong with the life that he wants to live over here, and it's nothing wrong with the life that I want to live over there. And it doesn't always have to blend itself together. When you try to force things to work so much, it can make things matters worse. So I'm thankful for that separation and that breakup, because it really allowed me to just forcefully focus on myself and see what I like. And that's how I got back to realizing, like, oh, you know I love music. Like I communicate through music. So if you don't like music, we probably not gonna get along. I love traveling. I love nature. I like talking about money. And it's not no gold digger thing. It's just like a part of life. We have to talk about it. And if you don't want to talk about it, then we probably not gonna get along either. And it's no shade with any of that. You just have to take some time and really sit down with yourself, and the things that keep popping up in your mind, that's what you like, honestly. And that's really as simple as it is. And I like to take care of myself as a woman. Like, so what does that look like? I'm happier when I'm working out. I'm happier when I'm getting my feet done, my nails done, stuff like that. It's just really only taking the time for yourself. And as embarrassing and as uncomfortable as it might be, taking yourself out on vacations and taking yourself out on dates, because you're never going to end up doing anything that you don't want to do. And I do that a lot as well. Like when I turned 30 last year, I took myself to Turks and Caicos, and a lot of people was like, "Oh, that's weird. Like, why you go all the way over there by yourself?" Girl, I had me some fun. I don't went on like 3 different dates. I met so many different people that I've never met in my life. I made friends that I'm still talking to right now. Other women, from North Carolina, Atlanta, daggone Venezuela. Like when you are living in your purpose and when you're living your life, people are going to naturally attract themselves to you because they're also in that season themselves. So you just have to get out of your own head, honestly, and just step out and learn how to just be. That's it. It's no science to it. It's just you being. Like, you need to get out and be exactly whatever you are.
Exactly. Oh man, that's so good. I wrote down some notes because you was spitting. You were spitting, and it was so good. One of the things that you were saying when you said you love to be around animals, and you were just describing what came up for me is those kindred spirits.
Mm,
I'm like
true.
that too. Pure souls. I want to be around people who um, intentions are pure. You know, the energy, the aura is pure. Like that doesn't mean that they don't make mistakes, or they may not be as aware as you are, but it just means that their their energy is not jaded, it's not blocked, it's still pure. Like it's, oh, if I made a mistake, I genuinely made a mistake and I want to learn,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I fully agree with that. It sounds like you are a Peter Pan.
Oh,
You,
that's
yes,
cute. I didn't even think about it like that. That was my
yes,
movie right there, the original one.
yes, yes.
That's real
I say
cute.
that all the time, Peter Pan, and you know we're just trying to get Wendy back on track.
Oh, that is so cute. Now I'm about to go watch that. Just to make sure. But yeah, I ain't seen that movie in a minute, but I love that analogy. Yeah, Peter Pan. I think, it takes me back to just thinking musically, because I talked about music. Like, I like music. I've always been involved in music to some extent. I even was assisting one of my brother's family friends with her music festival, which is very popular now in North Carolina. But it made me realize that, how everybody talks about, Michael Jackson and everything, how he was crazy and everything. And he probably was to an extent, but I understood his like affinity with just innocence. I understood that like completely, and the fact that he just, because his childhood was kind of, messed up low key, and it was not a fault of his own. He was very successful, right? But regardless of the fact, you always go back to a part in your childhood that you wish you were able to relive or do something different. Like, there's never a point in our lives where we experience something in our childhood that does not affect us, whether negatively or positively, in the future, ever. Like, if I didn't go through those things in my childhood, I probably wouldn't care nothing about no finances. If my mom was still making money, she never had that. I had a daddy, like daddy Warbucks and stuff, we would be straight. Like, I would not be worried about teaching anybody about anything. So the fact that a lot of us are taken out of, we're stripped of our innocence and our childhood in certain aspects of our lives, and we're forced to grow up. Sometimes we want to rediscover that. Like, what does that feel like? What does that level of peace feel like? And that's really where I realized for myself that I'm at. I want to rediscover that time where I was just sitting on the handlebars of my brother's bicycle, and we was just rolling down the street to, the basketball court, playing basketball, got ice cream. Like, life was the best. And being in that headspace and that mindset, like, how can I get back to that? What does that really look like? And I think that a lot of people who may resonate with myself, Peter Pan, or even Michael Jackson, we realize that, we want to give people that opportunity to, sorry, we want to give people that opportunities, and kids, realistically, and young adults, the opportunity to live in a way that we may not have been able to, and it's still a level of fulfillment. So.
I was having a conversation the other day, and we keep going on this topic of people need struggle. I feel like um, we are conditioned to the struggle. Like, yes, we do need something to give us that grit. You know, like there are glasses now that will read. If you're blind, you can have these glasses that'll basically read whatever is in front of you. You just hit the button and it tells you what's in front of you. Ray Charles didn't have that luxury. He had to
Facts.
count his steps. So he has a certain level of grit. It was inevitable that he was going to make it because he had a certain level of grit. Um, there's this thin line between if technology is taking away that grit, but what I think is that it's turning us from manual labors to mental labors, and
Mm,
it's allowing us to use our brain more, which is the difference between us and the animals. We have this analytical aspect to us. Um, and we were getting America together for quite some time, and now we're in a place where, okay, we kind of like, stuff going on all the time, but we're kind of in a place where everybody has an opportunity
mm,
to take advantage mentally of what's happening. Um, but also understanding that, like, everybody is not a cold turkey type of person. Some people have to learn how to think. You don't just get you got it, but you have to like train your brain in how to think so that you can expand it's neuroplasticity. It expands over time. But if you haven't been reading it, if you haven't been giving it, feeding it, that's what I'm trying to say, for the last 20 years, you have to start somewhere and like train your brain on how to think. So my question is, do you think that um do you think that there is do you think that it's negative or bad that we um keep talking about the struggle and want to add a struggle into every element, or do you think that the struggle is needed, or some form of struggle? Or I don't like the word struggle. I think that we don't need struggle, we need challenge.
yeah.
So okay, go ahead.
No, I understand what you mean. So I'm gonna tell you first that my computer about to die. So give me a second so I can so I can plug it up because I forgot to do that. So give me 1 second, all right?
Okay.
Thank you.
That's funny. Yes, okay. I really think that a lot of people want the struggle. Um, I have this conversation so often, y'all. Listen, a lot of people talk about struggle. A lot of people talk about getting it out the mud. Me personally, I be trying to explain I'm getting it out the quicksand. Okay, it's just so somebody else can get it out the mud, and then like, but why should I have to do that? I feel like, especially in our culture. Okay, you good?
No, you
No.
good. I'm listening, girl.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I feel like in our culture we are kind of trained to, like you said earlier, like I thugged it out, I got mine, and now you got to go get yours.
Yeah, no.
And I feel like just when I break that feeling down, because I look at the person inside out. So when I break that feeling down, you had to thug it out because you had no other choice. But along the way, people who were unhealed affected you. And so now it created some type of jadedness. And so I call it the Eminem effect, where maybe you are soft on the inside, but you have this coated hard shell.
Ooh.
And you feel like I can't give up my whatever it is. Um, to me, it's like I see it as like tithing. I tithe my energy sometimes. If I see that
Mm.
you are on the right track, or you got A and C, but you can't figure out B to save your life. Like I'm gonna come in there and help out where I can, um, because I feel it like that is the energy that, like, when you tithe it, you giving back. So if I give back in my time and my energy, you may not always have money. I feel like the universe still catches up on all of that, and I give a percentage of all of that to people, or the culture, or what have you. But I feel like sometimes we are historically told to get it out the mud, do it yourself, um, don't trust anybody, like all of these things. And it's a like it's from a the opposite of the pure soul. It's from it's I feel like it's a pure soul. Like I feel like it's jadedness. Like that's what I call it. I say that it's not a shortage of good people, it's a shortage of healed people.
Mm. Ooh, child. Please speak. Please speak it. I Yes, you are absolutely right. You are absolutely
Yes. I just Okay, I see it in my head. I'm trying to get the words to like articulate it, but I just feel like too often am I like trying to defend this place of like, if you are healed, you see the world differently. Like if you are healing, because it's never like I'm healed, I'm good, I done made it. Like y'all got to catch up. It's like no, it's always every
We're
single day.
continuously healing every day. Yes,
Yes. Like every day I could wake up and be like, who do I think I am? Like at any moment it could happen. So I have to continue to work on myself. So self doubt will be like, yeah, I'm here today. I don't know what you was doing,
facts.
but I'm
Right.
pulling up. like
Spin the
no
block real
self
quick.
doubt. Exactly. Exactly. But I feel like sometimes it gives me that feeling of beating a dead horse, though I know I'm not. I know it's just this person has um become jaded. And I'll give you a good example. I've been saying this lately that when a person comes and they hurt you, they're showing you their mental health. So why
Yes,
do we change ourselves based on somebody else's mental health? Will say, oh, this person hurt me, so I'm not going to do this anymore. Or I'm not helping people anymore because this person who was unstable mentally has not processed, gone to therapy, dealt with whatever, hurt me. So I'm just going to change me. Why? That to me, that doesn't make sense. And that's when I say jadedness. When you change yourself because of someone else's mental health, that is creating a jadedness.
I agree with you. I agree with you. There's no right or wrong answer to that. But I'm glad you said that healing is a continual process, because a lot of people just think that I'm healed and I've done the work. That's it. Good luck to y'all, or the people that be, no shade to anybody, but shade at the same time. Like the people who are just, the black folk that are just so woke, and they feel like everybody else who's not woke is just like peasants. But again, it's a continual process of healing. And if you are woke, then you realize that that is the case, and you are no better than anybody else, because your journey is different from everyone else's. So I'm going to say a few different things, like, um I'm a Christian, but I'm non-denominational. So I'm not like a Baptist, Pentecostal, all that good stuff. And the reason why I'm that way is because I believe in God, I believe in Jesus Christ, and the powers that be. But I also believe that, I realize if you take some time to read your Bible, you realize that he talks about, the elements of the earth. He talks about, incense and sage, and they have their little rituals and all that stuff. So those worlds aren't vastly different. They are created by the same person. So it's no wrong in you saying like the universe, or the God, or the powers, or whatever, however you want to say that. But the reason why I share that is because what I've learned is that, to go back to one of your earlier questions, before my computer acted up, um, I wanted to share with you that, every person has their own kingdom, right? Um, because God has an overarching mission and a goal for us as human beings. And one of my favorite lines from Erica Badu is, if we were made in His image, then call us by our names, which is just calling us gods of our own. And and they often refer to God as the King of Kings. He refers to himself as that. So if he's saying the Kings of Kings, then that means that we as men and women and his children are kings and queens of our own kingdom. So what is your own kingdom? Your own kingdom is what the project that you've been assigned, in the process that you've been assigned to complete in order to bring the world closer to God. So the reason why that is important, for you to know and understand yourself, you have to first understand who you are, because then you'll understand what your purpose is and what your mission is, and then how you can bring everyone back to the center of innocence and peace. I think that's why you and I have that that mindset in common, because we probably serve under the same kingdom, or a very similar kingdom. Um, and our mission is ultimately the same, which is to bring people to that awareness and that understanding, which is a blessing, right? So it does not happen by chance. It is all happens intentionally, and it's for a purpose. But we didn't get there by just, being afforded all of these opportunities. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, having some strife or some trials and tribulations in our lives is sometimes necessary, but it's not necessary in every aspect of life. You have certain people whose true purpose is to go through certain things, because their innate, like, ability to want to help others, and they know they wouldn't take that and be like, well, shoot, if I had to struggle this way, like, good luck, sis, good luck, little bruh. We're not like that. Like, we were able to go through certain things, and we're able to, like, okay, you don't want to take this turn right here, like, that's a left turn, like, you're gonna be at this standing block wherever, like, go down the block, bust a left, bust a right, and then this is where you got to go. We have no problem saying that. We have no problem giving people that, because we know at the end of the day, our purpose and where we're headed in life is so much greater, and we just don't want to see that person struggle. Like, we generally are empathetic people to the point where we do not want to see anybody go through a certain level of hurt. That is completely okay. But is that the thing for everybody? No, it's not. But unfortunately, in the Black community, you know, struggle, pain, and trauma, that is passed down from generation to generation. Like, you can literally still, it's embedded in our DNA. Unfortunately, you can still feel a lot of the same traumas and anxieties that your great 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 grandmama went through. You know, because it's in our bloodline. However, those curses, those that we have on our lives generationally, we have the power to stop those and break those. And I think that's where we're at in this space right now, where our generation of women, our generation of men, we're realizing, like, I don't have to deal with that. Like, that may have been, my grandmother, great grandfather struggle, but I don't have to deal with that anymore. And that's why we're able to continuously evolve. That's why we have all of these different this different technology, as you spoke about, the glasses that now read out to people. I'm sure, Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder wish they had things like that at that time. They would have been probably even greater at what they do, or maybe not. Maybe they did need that opportunity to kind of struggle through those so they can be these musical geniuses. So in one instance, yes, we do need people to struggle, but in another instance, we don't need everybody to struggle. And I'm going to tie it right back to finances. A lot of our white brothers and sisters, and our Jewish, we're going to speak about them specifically. They don't have to go through struggle because their parents went through all of that ahead of time. They learned those processes, set them in place, and they set up their generations to come, so that way they wouldn't have to deal with a certain level of financial struggle. Just because your family sets you up in a certain way does not mean that you're not going to struggle with anything at all or be challenged at all. We as a Black community have just been conditioned that we have to struggle with love. I No, we're not going to do that. And we have to struggle with finances. We're not going to do that either, because we are just as intelligent and sometimes more innovative than our counterparts are. We just lack the confidence that you spoke about earlier, and we lack the understanding of resources, and then we lack camaraderie. We don't like to work together. We need to change that, and I think we're in a space right now where we are changing that. We're realizing that, hey, my brother over here, he's a great chef. My sister over here is a great event planner. This person, he knows how to DJ. This person is good on the camera. Like, let's come together, and I'm a good facilitator. I'm a good speaker. Let's come together and let's start a business, and I'm gonna support all of these people. We're realizing that now. We're coming back to that community of working together that we once had generationally, but because we realize that struggling, it's just not working. It's not working in any aspect of our lives. So, hopefully that answered your question very briefly.
No, that was perfect. That exactly that you gave exactly what we need. One of the biggest things we need, building our confidence, community. I'm in the morning meetup. We meet every day, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. We have a book club. It's super lit of entrepreneurs or people that just are developing their mindset. Everybody doesn't have a business yet, but it's people that are making the transition. It's people that all over the world, like from all over the world, and we eat at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But there's people from California that are pulling up, and people from
Ooh, 5
overseas.
o'clock in the morning. That's a bar
Yes.
right there.
Yes, Bryn, she runs it, and she's there. She's in California. She's there before us
Mm.
at 8 a.m. So it's like, but everybody having, like you were talking about before, that common ground, like that kingdom that we know that we're trying to serve. We want to learn information. We want to, like I was talking about, learn how to think and develop our minds. And so just finding communities. I have a accountability group. Like I'll put links in the bio for everything, but like these, I'm working on finding communities that matter, that want to grow, that are trying to come have like a unisys, come together. And you can go find your who in these communities. Like, oh, if I'm a copywriter and I need a videographer, then I go in here and I know that this videographer. Have you ever talked to somebody and they're like, yeah, we're gonna get together, and like 2 years later, like you never get together? It's like,
Hmm.
no, but if you have community of people of like minded, we get together. Now everything doesn't happen, like it took us a minute, but everything, it will happen. You'll see the progress in something happening in what they say, like the fruit of people's labor. You'll start to see the fruit of people's labor. These are the little checklists when you're looking at your communities that you want to join. Are they benefiting other people? Is it beneficial to my goal? And then knowing your goal, like we said before, knowing self. What is your goal? What are you going after? My group is legacy builders, because like you're talking about finances, healing ourselves. How do we build a legacy, especially as melanated people? Well, we
Hmm.
have to heal ourselves. We have to like understand, like yeah, we were slaves, but bro, we were slaves, and we here, bro. The strength in that, like,
We were
do
also
you
kings and queens too. So like,
right?
it doesn't start there and it doesn't stop there. Our history doesn't start at slavery and it doesn't end there either. So that's
Exactly.
everything is a mental shift. So, you're absolutely right with your group, and even down to the other brothers and sisters who have their businesses. I'm sure even those who are catering, they still have a level of healing that they have to do. They have to have a level of healing that they have to teach people about how to think about food in a different way, so that way we're not actually killing ourselves by eating this food that we once ate as those who were enslaved and poor and impoverished, and that's the only resources that we had. So every business, when it comes to our melanated people, black and brown brothers and sisters, we have a responsibility again to serve our own kingdom, but it's also to serve the betterment of like the overall overarching goal that God has on our lives. And I love the work that you're doing, and girl, add me to all of them groups, all of them.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so I know we are coming up. So I want to ask, I have 3 questions that we do our little rapid round. Um oh my goodness, this was so good. You okay, wait, first. We got to go back because I noticed something. You said enslaved and I said slave, and I'm still working on that. Like um saying enslaved people, like we were enslaved people, instead of being like we were slaves. Like I don't want to. I want to make that shift in my head. To me, I feel like it was a small part of our bigger goal, like our bigger plan. So I don't look at it. I in my head, it's like something we had to get through so that we could get to this moment. So I don't look at it as like we were slaves or enslaved. I just look at it as it like it was a rough patch, a part of our, you know, process. And I'm trying to figure out what happened before that, because like we had to be some kind of powerful before that for somebody to feel like, oh, you're so useful that we're gonna take you way over here.
Girl,
Like,
we got some books that we need to read together. Then let's do that because
yes, okay.
I can talk about this. I can talk about this for a very long time, but I'm not. I ain't gonna do that to y'all right now. I ain't gonna do that.
Yes, yes.
Don't
So
get
we're
me on
just
my
gonna
high
drop
horse.
that little seed. And y'all gonna have to catch the part 2 or something. Like
That's fact.
okay, so rapid questions. What does healing mean to you?
Mm. Healing is understanding. Um, very very plainly put, it's understanding where you are and how you got there and where you want to be.
I love that. Okay. What does healing with spirit mean?
Ooh, child. So Healing with spirit. Okay, from a spiritual sense or a religious sense, however you want to look at it, it's understanding that your soul was here. Your soul was here, and it was assigned an assignment. It was provided an assignment before you were assigned a body. So before you receive this actual vessel, like your actual physical body, your soul and your mind was already designed with a mission and with a mission attached to it. And you really just have to get outside of yourself or inside of yourself internally to realize what that mission is. And a lot of times we can be so consumed in what feels good, what tastes good, what smells good, so much so that we are losing sight of who we are internally and we're unable to truly heal in that process. So I'll stop there.
I love that. Yes. Okay. Okay. And last one. What does healing finances mean to you?
Healing finances is again understanding where we came from, where you're at, where we came from, and where you want to go, because that means something different to everybody. But ultimately, what does that look like? I was on a coaching call with a client, just an hour before you and I connected, and I was on a call with a client yesterday. And a client yesterday, we was at the point where we were shedding tears and everything, and we don't really think about it that way, but finances can be so traumatic for Black people, especially women in general. Like, it is a traumatic thing to talk about. I don't care if you're making $25,000, $100,000. It's trauma attached to that. And why? Why do you feel like you always need to take care of everybody else before you take care of yourself? Did you realize that how much money you've actually brought in over the course of your 5, 10, 15, 20, or 30 years of living, and how much wealth you could have amassed if you did things differently? So healing there is just understanding, like, it's okay to go back and figure out, like, how the hell did I get here? Like, how did I get here? And was I solely responsible? And then going back and forgiving people from your past who just did not know. Like, people from my past, my great grandparents, they owned land. They were, engineers, they were entrepreneurs. And I'm like, once I learned that, I'm like, dang, like, I didn't have to go through none of this. If y'all would have just known some stuff and then set my mom up and she set me up, like, I really had to go through all of this. And realizing that potentially if I came from another community, I would be in a different space. So I had to learn my past, forgive my grandparents whom I've never got an opportunity to meet, you know and forgive my parents, and then forgive myself for not knowing, but realize, okay, we got work to do, we got some stuff to do. Like, let's get it together now, so that way we can ultimately live this life that we want to live in the future. It's not impossible. You're not being bougie, you're not being difficult, because you want to live this life of bliss, peace, and lack of labor. It's a necessity. Your spirit, your existence has already worked long enough.
I love it. I love it. You touched on it too, forgiving yourself. That's so important, giving yourself grace and having compassion. I feel like those are the keys to kind of bringing that to that understanding all together. So, oh, that's so good. I hope that people hear you and rewind this, listen to this again, because it's so many gems that were dropped. You are amazing. Tell people where they can find you, connect with you, get a call with you, everything.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So, I would say start with connecting with me on Instagram. I'm not a big social media person. I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook. If you hit me up on Facebook, you're gonna see exactly who I am. I'm goofy, and I talk about everything, finances included. But hit me up on Instagram at Aileah_Nichelle. You can connect with me there. You'll also be able to access some of my links to be able to schedule a consultation call with me. And if you decide to be a client of mine and apply, fill out an application, it'll be more so a discovery call to see if I'm a good fit for you or you a good fit for me, because I offer an all inclusive services to my clients to help them clean up their mindset. We have to shift our mindset first to understand why we're at the place that we are now, and then mapping out career goals for them, and then also tackling their finances personally and professionally.
I love it. So y'all hit her up. Make sure you follow her. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. And as always, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you do some healing today. Peace and healing, y'all. We are out.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.